Let's talk money.
Welcome back. You're with us on Let's Talk Money, and this week we are talking health insurance, which is an extremely critical step. I would say it's the first step to anyone's financial plan. You need to secure yourself, your health first, and then everything else comes later. Well, Sajja, Praveen, Chowdary of Policybazaar is helping us answer a lot of your questions, and we've got a whole set of queries coming in on health insurance options for senior citizens. And I know Kunal Sethi, who's joining us on the phone now, he has a question along these lines as well. Kunal, welcome to the show. Tell us, how can we help you?
Thank you for having me on the show. So today I wanted to talk about a challenge that I'm facing with the health insurance policy of my parents who are senior citizens now. They both are in good health and just taking some age-related medications, nothing too critical. But it seems like in the market, the insurance providers are a little hesitant to take up the senior citizen health insurance policies. Even if they do, the premiums are incredibly higher. Are there any strategies one should follow for senior citizen insurance, a new policy, or specifically for porting? Number two, if no insurance provider in India is willing to take up senior citizen policies, are there any specific government schemes? Those are there one should be aware of and should enroll in to ensure good health insurance cover for their parents and senior citizens.
Okay, Kunal, thank you very much for asking a question that I think is on a lot of people's minds, because that's what we were discussing, that as you get older is when you start thinking about health and, your insurance needs. Sajja, let me ask you about the latter half of his question first, and then we'll come to porting. First, the real options. On paper, yes, I think the government's been very clear that insurers cannot deny health insurance to senior citizens, even ones with pre-existing diseases. But realistically, does it happen on ground? And just give us sort of the things that one should keep in mind, and maybe even names if you can help. Insurers who are quite open to at least doing a real check and then deciding whether they want to issue a policy or not.
See, it's not that, today options are not available for senior citizens. There's slightly a misconception over here, I would say. It really depends upon probably the person whom you would have approached. There might be people in the market or, certain channels or of distribution who would be okay to only kind of have policies which are very easy to move in nature or easy to get a proposal in nature. For example, without any medical checkups, without any follow-ups required, or without much of underwriting done, where you kind of got a check or the payment done and then the policy is
healthy young people, yeah.
Versus, say in the case of parents, especially which you're saying, if your parents are about 60 years, you have slight medication being taken and all. I'm sure insurance companies would ask you for either for medical checkup or a telehealth questionnaire, or for some documents of recent hospitalization or medication being taken on. And that will take some time, right? And you have to be able to navigate through that process as a channel also, or as a distributor also. Some of the channels might not be able to have the capability to do it, and hence the reason people might not be showing interest. Today at Policybazaar, we have multiple of these options available, and we do it day in, day out. So there are n number of options that are available across insurers as such. And you can definitely port your parents with the condition that you said, they have slight medication, not much of any ailments as such, and about 60, 62 years in age kind of thing. No worries whatsoever. It's just that you have to declare what's the current situation.
So, just to build confidence and reassure our audience as well, just because you're saying it happens on your platform all the time, just name 2, 3, 4, 5 companies that are very open to giving insurance where you would have dealt with clients in your case. And also, an idea about premiums. That's another question that he asked, right? That will premiums be exorbitantly high? Mentally, how much should we be prepared for when it comes to
premium is completely dependent on what the sum insured and the age that you're looking at. So it is not to do with any kind of such stuff, unless they have some kind of ailment which is kind of very, very critical in nature, where the underwriter might ask you to load a bit of premium. But otherwise, generally, premiums are not the concern versus what a regular customer at that age would get as such, right? Having said that, on the company side, as I said, we do it day in, day out, where it's Niva Health Insurance or Aditya Birla Health or, say HDFC Ergo or a Star Health kind of thing. Across segment, everyone provides these. It's just that you have to probably submit some set of extra documents and you have to stay with it, sail through the course kind of, rather than saying, again, as I said, it might be the channel through whom you're approaching, where it's that agent whom you're trying to approach through, or some bank or some distributor who's not really interested in that kind of business. That's it.
Fair enough. So there you go. Kunal, you even have some names now, just to sort of prove that insurers are really interested in doing this. Not everybody is going to turn senior citizens away. A related question. This one is from Mr. Om Prakash. He's writing in from Lucknow. That's also, by the way, my birth city. So great to have you on the show, sir. He's 62 years old and he's a diabetic. And he says, I want to get a health insurance for myself now, but I don't know if I'll be eligible. Where do I even start? I think it sums up the issues that we're discussing. So for someone like him, 62 years old, pre-existing condition of diabetes, which puts a lot of insurers off, what are the options?
So as I just said earlier, right, it's kind of a misconception that to put this on the insurers that, such options are not available. It's just that these options are available.
Okay.
And across insurance companies, such products are available. Whether you called about Care Supreme or Niva Reassure or, say, Ayathabilla Active. So multiple plans are available in this or a Star Health Comprehensive kind of thing. It's just that you'll have to declare and then probably have to undergo the test or have to provide an extra document and you can take it. It's just that if you're at the diabetic level, if your diabetes level is much higher kind of thing, and you into insulin, and also you have certain other ailments along with it, whether it's heart-related ailment or that's where it gets complicated to an extent, where the insurer might come and charge you extra premium and all. Otherwise, generally these days it's available. And also the other thing is that now there are plans which are available where you can also reduce the pre-existing waiting periods also to 1 year by paying an extra premium.
Really critical. So I know these things are hard to generalize, but if we just take this example, Mr. Om Prakash, he's 62 years old. We don't have him on the line, but let's just go with the fact that he has diabetes, no other health-related complications. And let's assume he wants a coverage of at least 50 lakhs because, these days, as you say, medical inflation. Roughly speaking, what is the premium that one should be mentally willing to sort of shell out if you're looking at a cover of at least 50 lakhs?
So I remember recently, kind of advising someone, who was a friend kind of thing, or a family known person, someone about 60, 65 years of age, couple who wanted a health insurance kind of, and again, similar kind of thing. I think they have a blood pressure and slight diabetes around the range kind of thing, not much of a thing. So about 50,000 probably for them, I think, if I remember correctly, what we said was about 45,000 rupees or 50,000 rupees per year is what is for a 50 lakh rupee cover, but there's not even a 50 lakh cover. Again, as I said, right, there are different companies which offer you different kind of things. The companies which offer you 25 lakh plus 25 lakh. It's just a way that you look at a cover. Once your 25 lakh gets exhausted, then you get under 25 kind of. So it's a much heavier cover.
Okay, Sajja, we're completely, running out of time. So I'm also out of breath because there's so many questions, but we want to, leave our viewers with a checklist. Anybody who's looking to buy a new policy or who's looking to renew their policy, what are the basic, heads that they should consider, check, and then go ahead and make the decision?
Sure. There are 2-3 categories that you broadly would want to look at. One is any kind of limitations that your policy is going to put on. Second is the kind of waiting periods that you would have. And the third is the insurer that you're going with. But what's the claim settlement ratio? How's the insurer been in the segment and so on. There's a broad category kind of thing. Under the checks or, under the limitations that is there are multiple things. One is room rent categories. Is there any restriction on room rent? Whether is your plan restricting to 1%, 2% of some insured, or say a 3,000 or 6,000 kind of thing for room rent and ICU. Because what people might not think, they might say, okay, I'm okay with a 5,000 room rent capping, which means I'll have to, I'll generally go to that room, or, I'll have to spend 1,000, 2,000 rupees extra. But what they don't understand is that when you go to a room of a higher category, it's not the only room rent you'll be paying extra. The additional amount, let's say you got hospitalized and you spent 5 lakh rupees. And what you're eligible versus what you took as room rent. You assumed 3 days of room rent, I'll pay 5,000 rupees extra, 3 days, 15,000. But what you might end up doing is you might have to shell out 2.5 lakh rupees out of here. It's a proportionate deduction, right? So room rent, any copay for certain ailments kind of thing that the policies might have, or any limitations on modern treatment, because modern treatment is one thing which is becoming very common these days, right? And modern treatment...
For example?
Like, something which is like a laparoscopy treatment instead of operating kind of thing. Now, what would that do is basically you walk out of hospital the next day versus walking out of the hospital after 5 days and having an extended recovery period kind of a thing. So these would cost higher. Now, some policies might have cappings on these modern treatments and all. So you have to be careful about these cappings kind of, are there any restrictions? The second thing that we spoke about is the waiting periods. There are 2-3 types of waiting periods. One is the first 1 year, 2 year waiting periods where certain things like arthritis or, kidney stone, which would not happen over a day or two, would not be covered by industry across. And then there are pre-existing disease waiting periods, which are generally 3-4 year in nature. Now, there are some plans which offer pre-existing disease for 3 years waiting period, some which offer for 4 years, and some which offer you with 1 year if you pay extra premium. And some which have this 2 years as 1 year or 2 years. So these are important, which you should compare. The third thing comes to the claim settlement ratio, which also determines, IRDA as a regulator has a very clear-cut norms in terms of how insurance companies have to report claims settled and the ratios and everything. So you have claim settlement ratio in terms of overall claim settled or claim settled within 1 month, claim settled within 3 months, which shows you the speed at which the insurance company is all settling. So you might want to look at those different metrics and kind of decide which company do you want to go. So you can look at these 3 buckets broadly. And the fine thing is that, please don't miss any declarations kind of. At times there's one thing which people do think, something as small as, some accident that would have happened and hospitalization that would happen 5 years back. How does it matter? But that matters.
Sure.
That's one important thing that you should take care of broadly.
Okay, this is really helpful. We could have gone on for an hour because there's so many questions, so many nuances when it comes to health insurance. But I think it's a good start. It sort of tells our viewers that we need to, get our house in order when it comes to our health insurance needs. Sajja, very, very glad that you could make it to the studios. Thank you so much for joining in today.
Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Well, viewers, you saw it, you heard it. We are here to answer your questions. Anything on your mind with respect to money, insurance, investments, write in, and we'll come back to you with a response. See you again on the show next week.
Let's talk money